defense system that helps fight infections. The immune system is made up of antibodies, white blood cells, other proteins and chemicals that attack and destroy substances such as bacteria and viruses that they recognize as foreign and different from the body's normal healthy tissues. So, the lymphatic system signals immune cells to the presence of pathogens, coordinates all immune system's responses. Without the lymph system, immune cells could neither detect nor track pathogens and would be basically blind. If the immune system is an army, then the lymph system is like the strategist. Here's our lymph nodes. Our lymph nodes are also inside of our throats, and they catch the pathogens and viruses and bacteria that can make us sick, and then they fight them off with these special white blood cells called lymphocytes. The bone marrow is a soft tissue found mainly inside the long bones of the arms, legs, vertebrae, and the pelvic bones of the body. It is made up of red marrow, which produces red and white blood cells and platelets, and yellow marrow, which contains fat and connective tissues and produces some white blood cells. Here's the bone marrow. We have them inside of our arm right here as well, and they're very helpful. And here is the spleen. The spleen is what filters the blood by removing old or damaged blood cells and platelets. It helps the immune system by destroying bacteria and other foreign substances.
Okay, so now that we've talked about how the immune system works, now let's talk about how the immune system interacts with other systems in the body. So the endocrine system produces chemical signals that can sometimes interfere or aid the immune system.
So, the digestive system serves as a type of border patrol for the immune system, and it does this because the mouth is one of the major entrances for pathogens, and when you eat food and different things like that, you have a very high chance of infection or for pathogens to enter the body. So it's very important that the digestive system tracks and identifies the pathogens, and this is why it serves as a border patrol, because it keeps the bad out, or it tries to detect that the bad is there to protect the body. Another useful border in the immune system is the respiratory system. The respiratory system acts very similarly to the digestive system. What the respiratory system does is it filters and identifies the pathogens that are present in our air. Similarly to the digestive system, which identifies the pathogens that are entering our body through food, drink. Sleep is essential to a healthy immune system. Sleep replenishes the body's anti-inflammation chemicals, which are great unless you like being all inflamed. The melatonin produced during sleep actually helps with pain also. Sleep is actually pretty cool.
Fevers, while painful, are the body's natural response to various pathogens. The increased metabolism stimulates the movement of white blood cells around the body and can inhibit the spread of pathogens.
Now I'm healthy.
Exposure to UV radiation produced by the sun can trigger a defective immune response. However, sunlight also causes your body to produce vitamin D, which helps the immune system. Catch some rays.
Stress, due to how it overclocks the circulatory system, can actually be really bad for immune systems, making immune cells slower to respond to pathogens. Whatever it is, it can probably wait till you're not sick.
It's important to understand the third line of defense to be able to understand how vaccinations work. So vaccines help develop immunity by imitating an infection, and in this, the body is injected with a weakened version of bacteria or a virus that causes disease, and the body's immune system then reacts as it would if a full-blown infection were present. So the body produces something called T lymphocytes and antibodies in response to the imitation infection. And T lymphocytes are defensive white blood cells that attack cells in the body that have already been infected. And once the imitation infection goes away, the body is left with a supply of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes that will remember how to fight the disease.
From 1346 to 1353, an outbreak of the plague ravaged Europe, Africa, and Asia with an estimated death toll between 75 and 200 million people. Though thought to have originated in Asia, the plague most likely jumped continents via the fleas living on the rats that so frequently lived aboard merchant ships. Ports, being major urban centers at the time, were the perfect breeding ground for the rats and fleas, and thus the insidious bacterium flourished, devastating 3 continents.
We thought it was important we talked about what it's designed to prevent. Disease. Now, what is disease? Well, the dictionary, and I'm paraphrasing here, defines disease as a disorder of structure or function in an organism, especially one that produces specific signs or symptoms that affect a specific location and is not simply a direct result of physical injury. Now, what's the simple version of that? Well, a disease is caused when a pathogen, a microorganism, has made its way into your body, infected it, and is now living and reproducing in it. Yeah, icky, I know. Pathogens can be a great many things. They can be fungi, bacteria, parasites. If it's tiny and can survive in your body, it's a pathogen. Now, pathogens have a couple of things in common, such as they need a medium of infection to infect your body. Now, that usually refers to a fluid in which it can survive. Now, that can include water or even air, but usually or other kind of fluid, like blood, among other things. Now, what this usually means is that infection occurs from an animal or a human or a plant to another animal or human or plant that can be infected with the pathogen. And an example would be like from animals to humans, influenza. You eat a bird that had it, or you somehow come into contact with icky bird fluid with it, well, you might get infected, because that's how it works, I guess. Now, so I'm sure you're wondering if diseases exist to, get all comfy in your body, then how can they kill your body? Or, well, why? Well, that's because certain diseases aren't designed to infect certain organisms into other organisms, or at least can't do it in the long term, because the symptoms they cause can kill you. Like a lot of the most lethal diseases out there, like influenza, like the bubonic plague, they are designed to infect the organisms that we normally get them from, i.e. birds for influenza and rats for bubonic plague, respectively. Now, when a disease infects a great large community, it becomes an epidemic, which is just a mass occurrence of a specific disease in a given community. It doesn't have to have a high mortality rate, but if it has a massive infection rate, then it's an epidemic. A pandemic refers to a global scale epidemic. So, yeah.
So next we'll go into the major functions of the immune system. As we know by now, the immune system is a host defense system comprising of many biological structures and processes that take place within an organism that help to protect against disease and viruses. The immune system detects a wide variety of pathogens, from viruses to parasites. So whenever you are infected by any of these things, your body instantly reacts, and your immune system starts working to fight against these diseases to keep your body safe and healthy. The immune system is also responsible for distinguishing pathogens from organisms' own tissues. Another interesting fact is that plants also have immune systems, and they help to fight diseases that may affect the plant's leaves and other parts of the plant. Defense-activating compounds can move cell to cell and systematically through the plant's vascular system. However, plants do not have circulating immune systems, so most cell types exhibit a broad suite of antimicrobial defenses. The avian immune system represents that of mammals, since both evolved from a common reptilian ancestor and have inherited many commonalities.
As you can see from our video, the immune system is the most complex system in the human body. Not only that, but it's extremely important. We all take it for granted that when we get sick, we don't just die. Our body reacts to the viruses and pathogens and infect it, and the body fights off disease in a very efficient way that allows us to survive, and it has allowed us to survive for millions of years. The immune system is made of several subsystems that all work together and work with other systems in the body, like the digestive system and the circulatory system. And without this, the immune system wouldn't work at all. Not only that, but the immune system has had to evolve alongside evolving viruses and pathogens. The pathogens try to trick the immune system, and as the immune system updates, so do viruses and pathogens that try to affect it. So you might be wondering how any of this information on the immune system pertains to the real world. Well, cancer is one of the leading causes of death in America, and that's because it tricks the immune system very well. See, as we've covered, one of the immune system's main jobs is to identify pathogens against the body's own cells. If the immune system can't do that, it could potentially target its own cells or not target dangerous pathogens. That's where cancer tricks the immune system. The immune system has a really hard time identifying cancerous cells, which means it doesn't know which cells to terminate. So that means that, like, chemotherapy and other treatments to cancer, not only do they damage the cancerous cells, but they damage the body's own cells, because the body doesn't know which cells are which. So oftentimes these treatments make you kill more cells than just the pathogens. And that's why cancer is really dangerous, because it can spread throughout the entire body. I previously mentioned that all of us take our immune systems for granted because they save our lives on a daily basis by not allowing pathogens to affect our body in a serious way. However, some people are born with little or sometimes even no immune system, and these people are severely affected by even the smallest pathogens that normally wouldn't affect regular human beings. Another interesting fact is that the germ theory of the immune system didn't develop until the 19th century. Previously, there was the liquid theory, which consisted that blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm all contributed to your body's natural state, and too much or too little of any of these liquids could result in disease or some sort of affectation. So this means they came up with some pretty wild treatments, like bloodletting, which they basically let blood out of your body to supposedly restore some sort of imbalance in your fluids. However, that might seem kind of primitive, but the Greeks in 430 BC actually realized that people that got smallpox once couldn't get it a second time. This is the exact same way that vaccines work. The Greeks never developed a vaccine, but the belief that contracting a disease the first time prevents it from happening a second time is actually rooted in ancient history. So, showing a more modern example of that, in the 1700s, scientists realized that dairy maids that got cowpox, they couldn't get smallpox. And this actually led to dairy maids being responsible for the first vaccine ever being created in 1796. Another interesting fact is how certain diseases affect certain demographics of the population. For example, an autoimmune disease is one where your body attacks friendly human cells instead of pathogens and viruses, which can obviously lead to some serious problems. So only 5 to 8% of the U.S. population have autoimmune diseases, but 78% of that subset are all women. So there are some biological differences in how the immune system functions between both sexes. Here's another interesting fact that is very prevalent to today due to our overall terrible diet. So bacteria actually outnumber human cells about 10 to 1. There's trillions of bacteria in your body. And the bacteria in your gut are actually extremely important. So overconsumption of sugar can actually lead to this bacteria in your gut fiending for sugar, and which is why people can have severely different moods, feel lightheadedness if they're addicted to sugar, which it is proven that sugar is very addictive, and people that are addicted to it and don't go without it suffer serious physical withdrawals, as if suffering from a narcotic or an addictive drug. One last fact is that white blood cells, as you know, are one of the most important cells in the immune system. White blood cells are the ones that destroy pathogens and viruses that affect the human body. And you might not know this, but white blood cells only make up about 1% of the blood in the human body. So that means that these white blood cells are extremely efficient at destroying viruses and pathogens that try to affect the human body, and we should be grateful they do such a good job. Thanks for watching our video. Hope you enjoyed it. Making it made me a lot more grateful of my immune system and all the brilliant ways that it outsmarts the pathogens that try to kill me. So I'm definitely very grateful for it. And yeah, thank you.